Okay, I'm here with Pete and Jason to talk about the game that will be making me crap my pants over the next year, I believe. The Evil Within. Guys, thanks very much indeed for joining us. Pete, can I ask you first, how important it is to have Shinji Mikami with Bethesda?
Huge. I mean, he's the father of survival horror, but beyond that, he's responsible for doing a ton of really well-liked, well-designed games over the last decade and a half, 2 decades. So it's great to work with a creative mind like his. And beyond that, a really amazingly talented team at Tango that he heads up. And so we couldn't be happier to have him as part of Bethesda and to be working on The Evil Within.
How alive is survival horror in 2013?
Yeah, it's exciting to be part of bringing back something that we've seen a lot of folks talking about wanting to see, which is a return to pure survival horror, not so much action first, shooter first, and horror second, but something that balances horror and exploration with combat. And I think the mix that Shinji and his team are working on is going to be really exciting, and we're thrilled to be bringing it out.
Jason, just to ask you, is this a new beginning for survival horror, or is this the definitive survival horror with all that build up over the last decade?
I don't know that we necessarily want to make a grandiose statement and by saying something like that, but I think this is Shinji Mikami's vision of survival horror. He calls it pure survival horror, and in creating the game from day one, this has been his vision. This is what every gameplay decision has been made with that goal of hitting pure survival horror.
Can we sort of touch upon the inspirations behind the game? I mean, what did you guys draw upon, influences, perhaps even not from the game space, but from movies, from novels and stuff like that? Can we talk about that at all?
Sure. I mean, most of it comes from Shinji's brain.
Yeah.
And he's the sum total of everything that he has played, watched, experienced. He's obviously a big fan of Western and Japanese horror films, and has played a lot of survival horror games. But it's, as Jason said, it's all really viewed through his lens, which is what he envisions it being.
Yeah, I mean, Mikami-san has played every survival horror game in existence, and he's seen a lot of movies, and I've talked to him about these things. And, he takes it all in. But at the end of the day, it's really the gameplay is what defines the horror in this game. The look and the feel may be influenced by the things, but it's really, it's pure Shinji Mikami.
Well, can you sort of just outline for us, I mean, what's the sort of general story arc for this game? I mean, there's a lot of mystery. I can already see your face going, no, not telling you a single thing. But can you sort of give us the sort of background about what players should be expecting here?
Sure. I mean, the game starts with you playing as this Detective Sebastian, who's showing up at an asylum where something horrible has happened. And from there, you get drawn into this sort of mystery. And that's really all we're going to tell you, because things unfold and things are revealed over the course of the game, but it's just major spoilers, and we want to leave it as mysterious as possible. And I don't know that we're really going to talk any more than that about the story before this game is released. It's intended to be very mysterious and leave a lot of questions open to the player.
I guess that's very hard in this day and age in the industry, in any industry, really, to have something a secret up to the point of game launch. I mean, is that something you guys think, especially it's almost like a mission statement, nothing must leak out on this game before launch?
Well, it's one of those things you're trying to walk a line between making sure folks have enough information to understand what it is you're making and why it is they want to play it. But, as Jason said, we're also trying to make sure that you ultimately enjoy the game. And the game doesn't start when you put the disc in. The game starts now when you start hearing about it and reading about it. And if we're revealing all kinds of stuff that is much better experienced on your own as you're taking this journey and playing the game, then it's sort of incumbent upon us not to ruin that and sort of hold that back and focus on the other stuff we can talk about to get you excited and make sure folks know the game it is that the team's making.
One thing you guys sort of mentioned in the presentation on was about the sort of differentiation between the exploration-driven bits and the more sort of cinematic horror elements. Can you sort of elaborate a little bit on that? I'm assuming that means sort of areas you can explore and find things versus a more well, crap your pants moments, yeah.
Right. Well, so this is a survival horror game, which means much of the time you're going to be looking around for items, for bullets, for syringes, for just things you can use to fight against the enemies. You saw me pick up those mines in the demo. That is essential to surviving the game. If you don't go and find every single bullet when you encounter enemies, you're just going to have to run, and you're going to do that anyways. But every single bullet in this game counts. And so the exploration areas, you may be an area where there are 3 different doors. You can go into all of them and desperately scrounge around to find something. But of course, there may be an enemy hiding in the shadows. So you have to be really careful about when you do it. And then there are the horror sections, which are very scripted or at least more directed, where things happen at a set pace that is very, very carefully crafted by Shinji Mikami. And you saw some of that in the demo.
And we also saw in the demo you shooting various different creatures when you could. I saw you taking out legs, you taking out headshots. Great headshot, by the way, during the demo.
The demo may have appeared to have been very scripted and very set. There were a lot of points in that demo that could have gone very differently, and headshots are one of them. There's a chance when you shoot a guy in the head, it may not kill him. He may just shrug it off and keep coming at you. And so I got lucky that time. I shot one guy in the head and I shot the other guy twice in the legs, and he fell down on the ground and I set him on fire. When he does that, there's a chance when you walk up to him when he's on the ground that he may be faking and get right back up and lunge at you. And I never know really when that's going to happen. And also when I was upstairs, when the enemies were coming through the windows, that always happens differently. I came very, very close to dying in that demo. And it's because I said, I know they're going to come through, but I don't know in what order. And I don't know which enemies are going to come through. And some are easier to kill than others. Sometimes a single bullet can take them out. Sometimes, it could be 3 guys who are really tough and they're all carrying torches and they're just going to lunge right at me, which is basically what happened last night.
Is it going to be that side of things where you'll have your sort of standard enemies and then your more sort of like boss-like creatures? Is that sort of split? Are you trying to sort of...
Those were all base level enemies. There were just a lot of them, and this is that kind of game where you have 5 enemies and 2 bullets, and those enemies are going to be dynamic, so you don't really know which ones you're getting or what the behavior is going to be.
But you are going to get a mix, so you are going to see some of the more like humanoid type creatures that Jason was talking about, but you are going to see some of those other ones, and those are revealed to you again as you go along, and it's part of what Jason was saying about those sort of Shinji crafted moments where he's introducing new elements to ramp up the horror, to ramp up the drama, to just scare the crap out of you. So those are all part of that pacing and those beats that come out in terms of when you get those and how they're introduced and that kind of thing.
Can you sort of elaborate as well on the traps? Obviously enough, we saw that in the demo using that for when they were jumping through windows, but will there be more expansive traps than that, or is that the sort of base level you'll have?
Yeah, there will definitely be more traps, ones that you'll get and be able to use against enemies and ones that will be used against you, and we're not really giving specifics on that yet.
Very difficult interview here. Okay, what can we talk? The score, music, fantastic. Can you tell us a little about that? Are you guys doing this in-house? Have you got someone outside coming?
Being done internally. Really, really talented folks working on the score. And again, it's part of that crafted experience of having the right music to fit exactly, the mood or the tone that's trying to be created in that particular part of the level, whether it's you think you're in an exploration part where you're gathering resources, but suddenly it becomes a frantic combat zone, or you're certain that there's an enemy waiting and there's not, and the ability for not just the music, but the sound design, the sounds that creatures make, the ambient effects in the levels, all of that really, I think, heightens the experience as you're moving through the game.
Yeah, I'm glad you called out the music, because a great deal of effort went into that, and it was all very carefully timed and plotted out. So.
In the demo as well, we saw you being hung upside down and some unfortunate soul beside you getting hacked well into itty bits. Is there a line? Is there a line where you guys, maybe this is actually too extreme, or is it that sort of sense? It is a horror game, so therefore you have to push that envelope.
There's probably a line, but yeah, with a horror game, it's probably a line that's further off in the distance than there is for some other stuff. That is a particularly gruesome scene. When that guy comes walking by with the top half of the body trailing blood as he walks through, you really get a sense of what you're in for over the next 10 to 15, however many it is, hours. But again, I think not only does Shinji have a pretty good idea of what he wants to see in the game, but I think he also has a pretty good idea of where that line is, because we really haven't come across much so far that's like, okay, dude, that's way too far. Yeah.
I mean, he runs stuff by us every now and then, says, hey, is this too much? And honestly, so far, no, nothing really has come up. I mean, we'll know it when we see it, but I think so far, I think he has a good bead on what's within what people are wanting.
Although having said that, those are the most dreaded meetings in our company, because every time we have a meeting with Tango and they start putting up stuff that they've invented, we're like, oh God, what is wrong with you guys? What in that? So,
but nothing's been rejected.
Nothing's been rejected. It's all just absolutely horrifying, and it keeps getting worse.
I can imagine if anybody ever sees your emails with all these attachments, you could be committed.
Yeah, it's really not good.
My inbox is a scary place. This morning, even, my inbox is a scary place.
It's always art to someone out there. All right, let's talk visuals. Let's talk tech. Let's talk engine. I mean, that place looks really gritty. It looks really dark, dingy, and stuff like that. How you guys produce that world?
Well, so you're seeing a heavily modified id Tech engine. So Tango has taken it and they've created their own lighting system. It's all dynamic lights, all being done in real time. They've added a lot of post-process effects like the film grain effect that you saw in the demo. They've made it so it works better with third person. They've added the CinemaScope aspect ratio, which is the 21:9 extreme aspect ratio to make it look more cinematic. They've done a lot to the engine to specifically capitalize on the kind of game that they're making. And they're sending that back to id, and we're sharing it with all our other studios. So Machine Games has seen that, and they've contributed stuff as well. There's a lot of tech sharing between the various studios within the ZeniMax umbrella.
I was going to say, with that, does that benefit Bethesda? I mean, it sounds like it does, but you guys, that sort of creative processing, all the different development teams are sharing that for the tech.
Absolutely, and we do that not just amongst folks that are using id Tech to make game, but even between guys like Bethesda Game Studios, who has their own engine, but they make really awesome tools for content creation. That there's a lot of conversations that happen between our studios and different levels of our studios, art, level design, programming, whatever, about sharing ideas, implementation of stuff, whatever it may be. We're pretty big on the sharing of ideas, and not just the sharing of ideas, but also sharing the game, so that whether it's a new build of Evil Within, they get sent around to folks at the different studios for them to play and provide comments back on what they like, what they didn't like, what they didn't understand, what they thought was really awesome, and how did you do this, because I want to do that in our game. So I think that kind of sharing is, in talking to other folks, is pretty unique for a publisher to have 6 or 7 different studios all sharing ideas like that. But it benefits everybody. It benefits the Evil Within, and then all the learnings that they've got are usually applicable to somebody somewhere on something they're working on. So it's a really, I think, healthy and productive part of our development process.
Now, Sebastian gets beaten, bruised, and cut in that demo. Is that an expectation for what we'll see over the course of the game? Just wondering, maybe not perhaps Tomb Raider, but that idea of a more sort of human character, a person that's not superhuman, can't take the beatings and stuff like that, to become more emotionally involved with that character and attacks. Is that something you would see with the Evil Within and with the character Sebastian? Yeah. Not doing any plot spoilers.
A lot of people have actually mentioned that to us this morning. You are playing a human character. You are not playing a superhuman. You're not playing a superhero. You're not playing a robot. He is going to get hurt a lot, and the fear in the game comes from the fact that you can die and you will die. It's going to be a difficult game, and you're going to die a lot. And if that's not there, if you feel like you're just a walking tank, then you don't have that sense of I can die at any minute. Every time I open a door, there could be 3 guys behind there that can just kill me. We need you to be scared, and you will be scared.
I'm sort of wrapping up then. Game's out next year at some point. What's the statement for it? I mean, what do you guys want this to deliver to gamers?
We want the preeminent, true survival, pure survival horror game on all platforms: PC, 360, PS3, next gen. We hope we're trying to create the best survival horror game possible, and hope that everyone, yourself and gamers out there, think it's it's the best thing that anybody's done, and they really want more.
Yeah, I mean, we're really not looking at what other people are doing as far as horror games. This is Shinji Mikami's pure survival horror, and it's been that from day one, and that's the plan.
Guys, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us.
Coming.
Thank you.